Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of FFR. Today we're with Phoneix Robotics. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
How,
Hello.
how are you guys doing?
We're doing pretty good. Uh, Most of our days have been good. So my name is Jesse Morales or Jesus Morales, and this is Anakin Martella.
Hello.
Welcome
Uh,
once again. Shall we begin with the questions?
sure.
Okay, so what's the story behind your team? How was it just founded? How did you decide on having a robotics team?
So originally we go to a technology focused high school that was started in 2016 called Phoenix Coding Academy. It was started in the Phoenix Union High School District in Phoenix, Arizona. And our team was started by that year's first freshmen. It started off with freshmen, only accepting freshmen, and it went on until filling up each class until they had graduating seniors and they had the first full year, which was also mine and Jesse's first full year. And it was started by a group of those first freshmen as those founding members who started it originally as an FTC team. And then after 1 year in FTC, we went into FRC in, I believe, 2017. And after that, we operated as Python Robotics all the way up until this year when we merged with Central High School and their team, previously Bobcat Robotics, I believe, and became Phoneix Robotics, rebranding.
Okay, great. Next question.
So as team members, what is your definition of FRC and what do you think it provides to the students?
I believe that FRC is a method of exploring robotics more so than anything. It's not just robotics, it's about exploring it, and it's about getting those community opportunities to work within an environment that is friendly and accepting of anyone, regardless of any personal factors, religion, ethnicity, gender, anything. It is to be the most accepting for people of similar interests and even people outside those interests, trying to incorporate everyone as much as possible and really give that sense of community and building a social understanding and expanding the field of robotics and its access.
Yeah, exactly. Just like first said, more than robots. So I think it explains it all.
Okay,
So,
how did you
yeah.
manage this pandemic? What projects did you do? How did you communicate with other members?
Here, I believe I can expand on this question a bit more. I was present the I wasn't president. I was present the previous year, and we had a really hard time due to a massive drop in members, as I believe every team experienced during the pandemic. It was really hard to communicate with members through online means and keeping everyone invested and interested. So the team dropped in numbers to, I believe, about 6 to 8 members. And so we had a really hard time, but those that we did have, we all communicated through Teams, and that is something that we have kept on into this year. In previous years, we have used Slack, but we had some issues with that. So in switching over to Teams, we've had more success with communicating between students. And during the pandemic, most of the projects were personal within the team. For example, it's behind me somewhere. I built a Street Fighter style gamepad out of an old arcade cabinet project that somebody had made in previous years as a part of robotics. And as he mentioned, we built a game for that. One of the options for that year was to make an FRC game. And so that's what we did. We made first Reel It In, which was a fishing themed game because everybody's wanted a water game. And as well as that, our awards team kept up with their projects, working on chairmans and various other projects like white papers and creating websites that can be used for future members of the team to be able to learn about how to do awards, because that year there were only 2 of us doing awards. And so we wanted to make sure that the knowledge that we had was continued on through the generations of the team past us, forever being forgotten.
Yeah, and it was also so hard to keep the motivation up for the members, I guess, like hyping them up. It was hard because you couldn't even communicate, but I think you managed it pretty good. You managed it sustainably.
I believe so. And this year we've had a lot of success with retaining our members. I believe we went from 6 to 8 last year and about 35 the previous year to now holding around that same steady 30 to 35.
Yeah, it's great.
So next question. How does your team structure work?
So more often than not, we take a project that we're given. For example, with Central High School, we help a lot of other clubs with their events. So for example, one of their clubs needed a dunk tank for a fundraiser they were doing over a weekend. And so we start off most of our projects and any real activity that we do as a team with simply asking the whole team who wants to work on this. And so the people that decide that they want to work on it, those are our leaders, and anybody else can join that project if they so choose. And we delegate out human resources to those projects and we start getting work on it. There's no usual structure to how the project is supposed to be started. It's just have a planning phase, have a build phase, and have a refinement phase. And as long as you have those three, it's up to the team leader to decide how they want to run that project. And they can come to any other member of the team for help as well, including our mentors. More often than not, though, it's mostly to students. The mentors are there for mostly just guidance to the students, as less so than actually participating in the team. We are very student run and we pride ourselves in that. And so we try and reflect that in our workflow.
Great, thank you. Next question.
So, what are the advantages and disadvantages of being an American team?
I believe the advantages is obviously we have cheaper access to most materials and tools. Shipping costs are very low comparatively to outside of the US. And then also the community here is a lot larger, which is definitely helpful. You have more access to more things. And I'm not sure how the school systems differ between countries, but from my understanding, at least within our district, we get more support than most teams would outside of our country from our school and school district. And especially coming from a technology focused high school, that gave us a lot of opportunities and a lot of tools that we wouldn't have had otherwise. And for the most part, being an American team really just makes it easier, as with most things. Living in America is mostly an advantage. It has its ups and downs, but usually things are cheaper. Stuff is built around you more often than not, like shipping. That's why shipping is so cheap, because you ship it to America. That's where everybody is. And so that is something that I think we definitely take for granted as a team. I don't think we appreciate enough how advantage we are to have that. And maybe that's something we could look into in the future and trying to help other teams, for example, in Mexico, since we are near the border.
What do
Yeah.
you look for in a person that wants to join the team?
More often than not. Oh, Jesse.
No, you.
Oh, you got this.
So when we want a member or a member wants to join, what we're looking for is initiation. Someone who wants to apply themselves to the team and is willing to take that step forward and integrity of helping and wanting to be part of the team. Like someone who's really motivated would be wanting to come to an event or a competition or is always there, present, being there, helping and creating like projects or the robot, helping basically, being initiative, applying themselves to the team. They don't have to have experience about tools or anything. They just had to take integrity.
Yeah, and especially at recruiting events, the most important thing we look for example, we had an expo recently for middle school students to come check out our high schools. And so there, the most important thing we look for was just, are you interested? No other factors, I believe, are really necessary. As long as you have the interest and the want to pursue it, everything else the team can help with. And that's the goal, really, is to be entirely accessible. Even if you've never touched a screwdriver in your life, and you've never typed on a keyboard in your life, I believe that the team should be able to help anyone be able to engage with their interests.
Okay, so how do you guys prepare yourselves before competitions?
All right. More often than not, it's mostly scattered right now with any kind of preparation, just due to the fact that we haven't had a competition in a very long time. We recently had one sponsored by the Shanghai Foundation, if I'm saying that correctly, as the AZ State, basically a scrimmage with the old robots from Infinite Recharge. And that was the first time most of the team has really gone to a competition. I believe me and some of the other juniors have attempted to go to one back in the pandemic, but in general, we're still trying to set up those protocols. As far as the last one we did back in October, I believe, most of the preparation was just make sure the robot works, get our tools together, and try and make sure that everyone on the team can make it if possible. if they're interested, we need to support them as much as we can so that they can make it. And it wasn't the best preparation. We did some stuff like scouting beforehand and tried to educate a lot of the members, but it's something we need to work on in the future, since there's very few members on the team who have any level of competition experience. So it's honestly just something we need to work on.
Okay, so what was the biggest challenge you had to face during your first experience, I guess? I guess both in FTC and FRC.
We aren't the best to speak on this. We are both juniors on the team, so we knew the founding members of the team, but that was the same year that they graduated when the pandemic hit. And so I think as a team, I don't know before that, but that was definitely the biggest challenge was, all right, everybody who founded the team, most of the people that had like amazing knowledge on the team left. And then that next year, everybody left. And then after that, almost the entire previous team was gone. All we had this year starting off were 2 seniors, one of which left, leaving us with only 1 senior, and the rest of it were all freshmen from that quarantined year. And so trying to overcome that and make sure that we can retain the team as something that is accessible and make sure that people trust in the team's general overall ability to compete and have confidence in it so that they can have confidence in themselves has been one of the hardest things. And especially going through that, trying to set up sustainability, because what if something happens again and we lose most of our team? We don't want the people that are left to be lost and just have to hope that they know what to do.
So it's like keeping the sustainability and being able to proceed the knowledge to the new ones, I guess.
Yeah, trying to make sure that the team can continue and that in the future, this team will give many more people access to robotics, and especially merging with Central High School. Phoenix Coding Academy is only 300 to 400 students. Central High School is about 2,000. And so opening the team to that many people really makes us want to sustain the team, because that means that even more people in the future will have access to it. And so
Yeah,
making sure
exactly.
that it sustains is important.
Okay, can you talk about your future dreams about the team?
Jesse is our current president, so I think he might be the most qualified to talk on that.
Where I want to take the team is to be successful, or as our mission statement goes, empower the youth to join the STEM field, and just basically encourage people to come forth, or come forth and go into the STEM field. And this is a great way to start. We just basically want to, how do I say this? I don't know. I'm sorry. I really can't speak tonight.
Yeah, so as he was mentioning, our mission statement is to empower the Phoenix Metro youth to break barriers and realize their full potential by providing opportunities in their community. And that's really a big part of what influences most of the leadership part of the team, is making sure that we can expand those opportunities and share our love of robotics and FIRST and the people that we've met through it and the amazing team that we have with as many people as possible. And I know me personally, as one of the few members that went through the pandemic with the team, I just want to see it succeed. I've gone through a lot of FIRST teams and I've watched a lot of them fold, and I don't want anyone to have to deal with that in the future. I've had to do a lot of work that I really don't enjoy and really put aside a lot of my enjoyment for robotics to make sure that this happens. And I want the team to move towards a direction where no one has to do that. And there's always someone who is having a good time doing what they have to do. And that's always a difficult thing. It's really easy to do the things you want to do and enjoy them, but doing the things that you have to do and enjoying them is a really hard thing. And if we can sustain just that one goal, in my opinion, I believe that we can sustain our whole goal as a team.
Exactly.
Also, I just wondered, what were your inspirations for your previous projects?
As I mentioned earlier, there is a Street Fighter style gamepad behind me that is made out of MDF and various electronics. That was inspired very strongly by a previous project that was from when the team started all the way up until I came into the team, which was to build an arcade cabinet. And that went as you could expect. They tried for 3 years. It turns out arcade cabinets are hard, but that was the inspiration for that project. There's a lot of other smaller projects within the team that aren't really mentioned or talked about all that much. Like a current one I'm trying to work on is there is a CNC milling machine that we may have access to. However, you have to take it apart to move it because of the design of our building, and nobody wants to do that. So working on that project so that way we have access to a CNC milling and CNC lathe machine is one of the things that I'm focusing on right now personally as a team member. I know that for another club, I believe it's marketing club at Central, there's a group of people working on a light box display box for them so that they can show off all their buttons in exchange for them allowing us to make buttons, which is, in my experience, vital to being an FRC team, is the exchange of buttons. That's a massive part of the culture. And so the inspiration for the dunk tank and the light box, a lot of those are other clubs and trying to mingle with the rest of the public high school. So that way it's not just the engineering kids sectioned off into the robotics. It's, this is an open, just STEM opportunity for everybody. I should say STEAM.
So I'll continue with one of the most classical questions, but I do really wonder. So what is your most remarkable and vivid memory from first?
Jesse, do you want to go first on this? I think we can both share one.
I'll have you go first, and then I'll talk about mine.
All right. So my most vivid memory of first was far before I ever joined a team. I believe it was 2011, as I found out recently. There was this train park I loved to go to as a child because my grandpa worked there and he built all the models, and I loved all the trains because I was like 6 or something at the time. I was like 6 or 7. And so I loved going to see the trains. And one day we went there and there was a giant robot that was so much bigger than me because I was such a tiny little child at the time. And before this, I had loved robotics my whole life. I watched Short Circuit when I was 2 and was like, all right. And so seeing that massive robot and like being introduced at first in that way, especially since that year, the game was moving around these giant, like basically cool floaty looking things that were the first symbols. Mm-hmm. And so, having that stuck in my memory and having that be my first experience with robotics was playing with a robot with a bunch of older kids who were having an amazing time using their robot and everything. That really imprinted on me as I went forward. And then, went to join my own teams and try and expand that same feeling that I got as a little kid that just loved giant robots with as many people as I can. Has been amazing. And a kind of second memory that goes along with that is recently we did an event at a Diamondback game where they were announcing that we were working on a pitching robot competition. And I didn't really watch the game because, to quote my prior self, I don't know that much about basketball. Yeah, it's a baseball team. Anyways, so I spent the whole time driving the robot around in the inside of the stadium, and that was the first time when I was able to really share that feeling I had when I was like 6 or 7, was playing with a bunch of kids by playing catch with balls using a robot. And it was just one of the greatest experiences I've ever had with first in robotics in general.
It's great. It's really great though.
It is.
My experience was before freshman, and it was a tour towards my school, PCA. It was when we were looking through the workshop, right? Yes, the makerspace. And then, can you give me a second? So we were touring through the makerspace, and one of the leaders or presidents in what was he? He was a sophomore, right? Joseph?
Yeah, he was a sophomore at the time, I believe. No, he was a junior because he was a senior our freshman year.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, no, because it was before freshman. So he had to be a sophomore, right? Anyways, he was telling the whole class of what could be happening, what we do, or what first is. And in the background was everybody on the team, the drivers, the 2 drivers, and then like the programmer were playing with the robot in the makerspace, like testing it out, like it moving and being able to function like a basic human, being able to like do simple tasks that they program and create is such a great feeling. And then also seeing them getting together like a family. That's really that was really nice to me. I really like that. It was great. So and then after that, so where did I leave off? Or
I believe so. After that, you were talking about after the experience before freshman year.
freshman? So I finished. Okay, yeah, and then after that, and then even so after the pandemic, we had the competition at a university where it was a new set of people. I was able to lead and coach the drivers, and it was amazing. It was magical, basically.
Great.
Great. So, lastly, guys, would you like to add anything?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity for, I guess this would be more of like an interview. And
Well, thank you for joining.
of course. And I guess additionally, just to make one thing very important about our team, I think, and our general philosophy is it doesn't matter where we are as a team, who we are as a team. It doesn't matter who is on the team. Doesn't matter where the team is. Our philosophy will always stand. Our goal is to empower the Phoenix Metro youth to break barriers and realize their full potential while providing opportunities in their community. And I hope that one day maybe even we'll get to be one of those big teams that gets to go way outside of their little local area, maybe even do some stuff in other countries. I've seen plenty of teams do that, and that's really inspiring to see. Like you guys, for example, you guys are going far outside of your country, and that's just awesome to see. And the creative ways that you're using the limitations of your technology is amazing.
Thank you.
Jesse, would you like to add anything or?
No, you basically expressed everything. Oh.
Okay, thanks to Phoneix Robotics for joining us today, and see you in the next episode of FFR. Bye.